pantry, and he wanted to stress to us, and I want to stress to all of you out there, that $122 donation to the food pantry allows them to buy 976 pounds of food. So please, when you are looking to just make a little bit of difference, the food pantry and the village will always take non-perishable and canned goods, but $1 can buy 8 pounds of food through the food programs that the food pantries are able to have access to. So even $5 makes such a tremendous difference. So, and in these hard times, I mean, the food pantry has always been in need in this area, but right now, on a monthly basis, we are feeding 2,773 people in this township. So keep that in mind, and thank you to everyone who did participate in the drawing. We'll move on to the standing committees right now, and we'll start with Finance. Trustee Daly.
Just a couple things. Just a couple things.
Oh, that's better.
The Finance Committee met with Greg Bruner Manhart tonight, and what we wanted to do is review the presentation of the bill, which is kind of an ongoing review of a number of financial things we do, in the village. And we've asked them to provide us with more detail on each bill, since other than police services, they are our largest billing entity. So they're going to break down the bill for us, send us a couple samples, and get it laid out so we get the information we need, who's working, what project, how many hours, and what their rates are. And we found in the last bill what potentially is an error, an amount billed per person or per a person, and I've asked him, and he's agreed that they will review the past 12 months of bills to compare it to our current contract to make sure it's accurate. And it's been very cooperative and no real problem there. The second thing, Jim Rock mentioned earlier tonight that he provided us with a whistleblower ordinance, or suggested one, and I just want to let everybody know that's under review. Developing that ordinance was a recommendation of our annual audit, and their recommendation is based more upon having some sort of whistleblowing policy in place for the audit, and I'm looking at it in a more broad sense if there's any sort of thing for a procedure for the entire village. But it's under review. There's no real set deadline to establish that or to install that policy. And that's what I have.
Okay, thank you. Public Works, Trustee Walkington.
I know I talked with Jeff, and we do have a proposal and awarded a bid to take care of the public works situation. I'm part of it, weather permitting. If the weather permits, it'll get done right away. If it doesn't, have to warm up and be done by springtime. We are elected to that one. So that's all I have.
Okay, Public Safety, Trustee Crease.
Yeah, just a few items here. I just wanted to thank you and with this weekend shop at the cop, and I really enjoyed myself going and seeing the kids, seeing their happy faces and everything else. All the participation I went through with Trustee Barrett and everyone else on the police donating their time, which was really nice. Another thing is that I also attended this one meeting where I was happy about that was that, the input we got from the residents. This is something that needs to be, looked at, and it needs to be closer. It's our town, it's our town, our villages around here, I should say. And, basically, rooms coming into it, we need to make sure that it's done right. And I'm glad that Swanco is there to watch out for us also. Another thing that we had was Mayor and I met with Police Chief Perlini from Greens Lake. We had a nice little meeting, and one of the things that came out of that meeting was that he made a suggestion that we made to the residents about reporting any incidents of either theft or whatever, garage doors, somebody going into your car or something like that, looking around, no matter what it is, even if there wasn't anything taken. He asked if you call the police department and make a report of this. He says this way maybe they can establish a pattern of what's going on, where, what is being taken and everything else. If there's anything taken, no matter how minute it is, report it, because he'll let you have that information and keep on record. So that whole thing, maybe one of these days, that would catch these people in the act of doing something. So that was one of the praise. And I'm also kind of working on the budget, and I'm getting updates on the quotes for the pedestrian crossing for Tall Oak. That budget's already in, so we're working on it, and I'm going to put that in my budget this year. So, and the next meeting will be January 22nd, so hopefully you guys will come out and join us and give us your input. Thank you.
Thank you. Wetlands and open spaces, Trustee Duberstein.
I'm sure that residents are aware of the burns, the controlled burns that have happened around the village this past month. They serve us several different purposes. One is it clears out the weeds and hopefully gives room for the good guys to have space to grow in the spring. The other thing is, even in areas where the weeds are not prevalent, but a burn stimulates future growth. In the days before civilization, nature had it so that there were fires from either lightning, or the Native Americans had a fire that got burned out of control. Since that doesn't happen very often these days, we have to make a similar situation to help Mother Nature out. So that was the purpose of the burns. During this winter, there will be native flower seeds and some annual seeds sown in various areas around the village, and many of them, there will be matting on top to keep the seeds in place, hopefully to give them a better shot at germinating in the spring. So even though it looks like there's nothing happening, there really is. And we did not cut back the native flowers in all the entrances, because by leaving them, we're hoping that the seeds will drop from the plants and will reseed themselves, and we will continue to get more and more flowers in all of the entrances. So those are the things that are going on now. I did mention that I would like to have any input from residents of suggestions. Our next meeting is the 3rd of January, so there's still time to get your suggestions in before the budget date is due on the 9th, and I know. So that's about all for now.
Okay, thank you. Community relations, Trustee Yarnowski.
Well, like everybody else talked about, we had our annual holiday mixer on December the 2nd. It went very well. I would like to call out and thank especially the mayor and the staff who did a phenomenal job at setting everything up. And also I would like to thank Jackie Brunk, who time and time again has proven to be a valuable resource, and actually her and her family put together all the goodie bags for Santa to give out to the kids. And everything else is the budget and getting ready for next year's meeting.
Okay, thank you. Okay, at this time we're going to move on to business. We have a bit of a list here, and some of them warrant some discussion. And we have some visitors in the audience that I'm sure are anxious to get on home, so we'll try to get to you as quickly as possible. First item up is a motion to award the bid to Chris Electric Corporation for the Village Hall generator project. And there's 2 generators, one for this building and one for the Public Works building, and 2 separate dollar amounts. And we've gone back and forth on this issue because neither building has a generator. So if we do have a substantial event of sorts, we all seen what the outcome of Sandy was. We saw some scary images in the EMA drill that we did here with the full board. And so I've had the various trustees coming back and forth on this with me. Now, we did appropriate for 2 generators, so we can legally purchase them this year if we choose to do so. Our intent, though, when we appropriated for them, was that we would hopefully be getting a grant of sorts. And those grants are no longer available this time, and we don't know if and when they're coming back. The question has come up, how much would it really cost? We had one quote, and then there was discussion that, well, maybe we needed to get some hardline specs and go out to bid to get some realistic figures and make sure we know exactly what we're talking about. So, you have the outcome in front of you. Do we want to purchase one now? Or we are working on our budget for next year. So it's a perfect time to use these figures for the upcoming budget, which starts May 1. Do we want to do one now and the other one a year out or 2 years out? I've heard back from a few of you with the email I sent out recently. Kevin, you had some good thoughts. Would you like to share your thoughts on that?
Sure. Do we need to have the motion first before we discuss it?
It's not required.
It's not required.
Okay, fine.
Yeah.
I just wanted to be right.
My thought was that, considering that the grant money is gone, and this is rapidly becoming a necessity because of the, diminishing or, deteriorating grid with Commonwealth Edison. We're fortunate here in Hainesville that we have a lot of underground power, but anytime there's a storm, the surrounding communities around us are always losing power. I got back to the mayor and I said, Mayor, I think it would make more sense for us right now to do the public works building first. Reason being is that A, it's got empty office space so that we can set up an office for a command center for village staff and officials to run out of. B, we've got fuel there to supply our village vehicles and anybody else that would need fuel in the event of a disaster cleanup. And we have more room to shelter people there because we have natural gas heat that only requires a little bit of electricity to run these tubes during the winter time if it's a blizzard situation. And we'd be able to put down more cots and shelter more people there with shower facilities and running water and things like that at the public works facility first. And then budget for the second generator for Village Hall so that we always have power for the Village Hall at a later date. That would kind of ease a little bit of the sting of writing a check for both of these at the same time versus doing one at a time. That was my thoughts.
Any further comments from?
I've got some questions.
Okay, yeah.
And Greg, I'm sorry we had to call you back, but this is my pleasure. In my somewhat limited experience with bids, when one bid is so different than the others, it usually raises a question mark. I'd like to understand why, and I'm not saying any of them are wrong, but I really don't understand how Chris Electric got 27,000 and the other two were 53 and 60,000.
Sure. I'll explain a little bit of what we did with the bid process, and hopefully that'll alleviate the concerns. Basically, we prepared the bid documents, and we specified a specific generator, 48 kW Generac, 5.4 liter quiet source generator with a cold weather package. We didn't just leave it up to the contractor to determine the size generator. That can be a source of problem. So all the contractors bid on the exact make and model of generator to provide. There was no substitutions, and that was in specs. We had a mandatory pre-bid meeting. 4 contractors showed up, 3 submitted bids. We had made the pre-bid meeting mandatory so that none of the contractors can say after they submit their bids that this isn't how I expected it. I thought the generator would be closer, I thought it would be farther away. We told them specifically where the generator would be. We also scoped out specifically what the owner's obligation, the village's